My dreams are nightmares. How can I sleep? You got the gun against me.
What's going on, everybody? King of Dragons 5000 here, coming at you with another figure review. Today we'll be having a look at the Coffin Comics Legacy Series, Lady Death. And so here we have the Legacy Series, Lady Death posed and out of the packaging. Before we take a look at the figure, let's actually run through her accessories really fast. Lady Death does come with two different pairs of hands. We do get a pair of relaxed hands. We do get a pair of grip hands. She does come with her sword, which has a lot of nice little details. I do love it. It looks really nice. Then we do get her scythe, which also looks really nice. I do love the coloration of the silver and the wood with the wrapping. Finally, she does get her cape, or her cloak, whatever you want to call it, and it is painted really, really well. They did a really good job with this figure. Other than that, Lady Death doesn't come with anything else. I think more hands and maybe an alternate head would have been nice for this figure, but that's neither here nor there. So with that out of the way, guys, let's actually have a closer look at Lady Death. And so here we have a closer look at Lady Death, and I think Executive Replica has done an amazing job with this figure. She looks beautiful. Now, one thing to note about her head sculpt is that her head and her hair are entirely one solid sculpt. So there is no soft piece of any part of her hair, unfortunately. It's just one solid sculpt. I don't know if you guys can see that right here. It is a little bit unfortunate that that is the way it is, because one solid sculpt does make it a little bit harder posing the figure around, but it still came out beautiful. I love the way her hair looks. This is a really, really well executed figure. And something I do love is the hair. The hair, they did a fantastic job just adding in all these nice little colors. It does appear like there's some pearlized coloration in her hair, along with some gray shading, which does bring out those details really, really wonderfully, and it looks so amazing. I do love it. They did a fantastic job just with her hair alone, and the face is done exceptionally well. I love this face sculpt. It just screams Lady Death with the whited out eyes, the eyeliner, and then the red lipstick. It's just perfect in my opinion. Really do like the fact that you can see her ear on this side, and you can't really see it on this side because her hair is flowing off to the right. So they did do a really nice job of paying attention to detailing there. And there is some slight shading, and I do mean some slight shading on her face. I don't know if you guys can see it when I cover up her face from the lights. We have a little bit of blue throughout her face, which that's what you see throughout most of her skin tone. We do have this really nice blue airbrushing, which does highlight some of the details on her body really nicely. I do feel like there are some spots where the blue is a little bit heavy-handed, such as right here on the right collarbone. You can see, compared to the left side, her collarbone does seem to be a little more airbrush with blue right there, and that is a little bit unfortunate, but it's not a big deal. I can live with that. They did a really good job throughout the figure. Even the black right here has a really nice hint of blue. You can see right here underneath her chest we do have some dark blue highlights among the, it's not really black, it's like a really dark blue, maybe even a dark purple. But it just looks so nice, and you can see they did some more shading right here. Even if I put my hand in the way, it kind of hides the shading, but underneath some harsh lighting, all those shading techniques and airbrush strokes come out really, really nice, and I do love that. Even the back of the figure, which you wouldn't expect them to have paid too much attention to her back, because most of the time you're going to have her wearing her cape. It looks really nice because we do have the different skin tones with the airbrushing. It's just done perfectly. Even right here on her lower back, you can see right here, even the skulls on her underwear is done fairly well. Although there are some spots where the eyes on the skull look a little bit derpy. That's to be expected, because look at how small those little skulls are. You can't expect them to get it perfect 100% of the time. But it does look really, really nice, and I do like the fact that they painted the skulls cleanly. The only thing that's a little bit off are the eyes, but for the most part the skulls on all her costume do look really nice. Like right here you can see the eyes do look a little bit derpy, but the gold skull is painted beautifully, so we can't really expect, well, actually we should expect better quality, but I can let it slide because it's such a small detail. Other companies would have just as much of an issue painting that. And one thing I do like about her garter right here is that you can actually see some stretching in the fabric where these skulls would be clasping onto her stockings, her boots, whatever you want to call them. And that's a really, really minuscule detail that you really wouldn't pick up on unless you're really looking at the figure closely. Really do like her armbands, which come all the way down to her red nails, and they did a really good job of painting her fingernails. Those look really good, and it's the same on both sides. We have really nicely painted fingernails. And then even on her stockings, her boots, whatever you want to call them, they have really nice shading throughout them. We have some right here at the top of the thighs. We have some on her knees, and then a little bit on her shins. And it continues onto the back, which again, that's a really, really good tiny little detail that you really don't notice too much, but underneath harsher lights, it does stand out really nicely. One problem I do have with this figure is because she is wearing heels, it does take a while to get her balance, and with this hair making her kind of back heavy, of course they don't do it on camera, but most of the time you will be struggling to get her to pose or to stand straight up, and getting her in dynamic poses and looking is going to be a little bit of a challenge just because of how solid this hair is. But overall, I think this is a very, very well done figure. So what I'm going to do is actually compare her to several different figures. I'm going to do more comparisons with Lady Death than I normally do with other figures, just so you guys get a really good scale of how she stacks to other figures in your collection. Here we have Lady Death posed next to a Marvel Legends Cyclops and a DC Multiverse Superman. Here we have Lady Death posed next to a WWE Elite Scale figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Popeye the Sailor Man. Here we have Lady Death posed next to a Lightning Collection White Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Mandalorian. Here we have Lady Death posed next to a Marvel Legends Black Widow and a DC Multiverse Jessica Cruz. Here we have Lady Death posed next to a WWE Elite Scale female figure and a Mezco 1/12 Collective Wonder Woman. Here we have Lady Death posed next to a Lightning Collection Yellow Ranger and a Star Wars Black Series Cara Dune. And finally, here we have Lady Death posed next to an SH Figure Art Suicide Squad Harley Quinn and an amazing Yamaguchi Revoltech Harley Quinn. So now that we've seen how she stacks up to both male and female figures from various toy lines, let's actually see how her articulation holds up. She does have a pin and ball joint here at the head, so she can look down somewhat. Can't really look up because of how her hair butts up against her back right there, so we don't get any upwards movement. We do have some surprisingly amount of tilt, so that's really good for attitude posing. Then she does turn left and right. You can maneuver her head around her shoulders. You just got to be aware of how you're posing them, so just keep that in mind. And because it is a pin going down into the neck, it's not a double ball joint, which I think a double ball joint would have been much better. We do have a ball hinge here at the wrist, which does go out to about right there. She does do a full 360. Gotta watch out for the hair, though her hair does seem to clip into her arms, so do be aware of that. We have a really nice bicep swivel right here where it's hidden underneath the stock or her armband right here, so it does rotate really nicely. We do have a single bend at the elbow, but it does give us better than 90 degrees, so I really do like that little bit of articulation. Then we do have a swivel and hinge here at the wrist. Would have preferred a ball hinge, but the hinge still works fine. We do have a ball joint here at her torso, although mine seems to be really stiff. It is a little bit loose at the same time. You can see it just wobbles right here, but you can arch her back a little bit, and then I'm pretty sure she should have some better forward momentum, but again, this hair being so heavy will have a tendency to pull her body back, so do keep that in mind. And because we don't have any waist swivel here, most of your rotating is going to be right here underneath her chest. Legs do kick forward to a full 90 degrees. Really do like that. Don't really go back because of the way they sculpted her hindquarters right there. They go out to the side, no problem, so I do like that. We do have a really nice thigh swivel right here. It is hidden in the sculpt, and it does rotate all the way around. We do have a double bend here at the knee. Works no problem. Really do like those double joints in the knees. Kind of wish we got double jointed elbows. Then we do have a hinge in the ankle, which goes back and forward. And then we do have forward facing pin for rocker ankle, but because she is wearing heels, that rotation that's supposed to be for rocker ankle mainly accommodates to foot rotation, so do keep that in mind. Overall, still pleased with the amount of articulation that Lady Death has. It works for the figure, and it functions beautifully, with the exception of her head, which that's to be expected with hair like that. So, with that out of the way, guys, let's actually get her posed for my final thoughts, and then we'll wrap up this review. And so here we have the Executive Replicas Coffin Comics Legacy Series Lady Death pose for my final thoughts. And overall, I think Executive Replicas has done an amazing job with this figure. Lady Death looks awesome, and she looks exactly like she does in the comics, with a few minor alterations here just to accommodate the plastic. It's still a really solid figure, and I am really happy I did get this figure because it looks phenomenal. Just the amount of detailing that went into her, from the shading, the tooling, the fact that they reworked this figure from the original design to this design, I think was a really smart idea, just to make her look more like Lady Death. I think they did a fantastic job with this figure. Now, I do have to point out that there are some issues with the articulation, being that her head is on a simple pin and ball joint, meaning we really only get some up and down movement, and because her hair and head are one solid piece, it does mean that she's going to be looking down at all times rather than looking up. If they had used a softer material or gave her interchangeable hair and head, I think that would help accommodate it, but it's still a really nice figure, and the fact that her torso is a little bit hindered in articulation does leave a little bit to be desired, but with a little posing you can get her in just about any pose you can imagine, which is a good thing because this figure looks really nice, and I am really happy that Executive Replicas was able to make this figure and get it out to people. Now, at the time I'm making this video, the only way to have gotten a Lady Death figure is to actually pre-order her. That's either from Coffin Comics website themselves, Executive Replicas, Big Bad Toy Store, or Entertainment Earth. If you missed out on the pre-order, unfortunately you missed out on this figure, and that is a travesty because she is a very nice figure. The fact that you did miss out on her does mean that you will have to pay second-hand market for this figure, which I've already seen her go upwards of $100 to $150 on eBay, which is outrageous, seeing as how this figure just barely came out, and it's such a nice figure that I think every fan of Lady Death does need this figure in their collection. Like I said, if you did miss out on the pre-order, you did miss out on the figure, which I think is the greatest travesty of all, especially if you're a fan of Lady Death. This is a must-have figure for any Coffin Comics collector. With that being said, guys, I'm KingofDragons 5000. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and check out all my other action figure reviews, as well as all my other unboxings and everything else I have to offer on my channel. Hopefully you find them informative and enjoyable. As always, if there's a figure you would like to see me review, let me know down in the comments, and if it's in my collection, I'll definitely have a look at it. While you're at it, check out my Instagram account for new and exciting action figure photos, and as always, ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Until next time, guys, I'll see you later. Take care, everyone.